Alright, guys. This is actually happening. 70,000 Muslim clerics issue a fatwa against terrorism. Some of the images I had to pull from the internet, I apologize. Some are from London and other events, but this main event seemed to come out of India, and I actually have this coming from independent.co.uk. Basically, they said here that clerics have come out against the terror groups and said they were a threat to humanity, and that it was not just that, but that those groups were not Muslim in nature. So this is what's really going on in the real world. "70,000 Indian Muslim clerics issue fatwa against ISIS, Taliban, Al-Qaida, and other terror groups. Clerics said these groups were not Islamic organizations and said they were a threat to humanity, or as I would put it, a threat to all of humanity. These are banker-based groups, folks. I guarantee it when you finally put it all down on paper. They were created by the banks, they were moved by the banks, they're funded by the banks, and all organizations thereof. So, this is what they're saying. They're not Islamic organizations. And what it says down here is around 1.5 million Muslims visiting the shrine dedicated to Sofi Islamic saint near the city of Ajmer in northwestern state. Of Rajasthan during the Urus religious festival have signed a petition against terrorist attacks. One of the clerics who signed it said, and basically told Times of India, which is actually a great source on this, from Sunday onwards, the annual Urus festival members of that group have been distributing forms, among others, seeking signatures to show that those signing stand against terrorism. Nearly 15 lakh, or 1.5 m, Muslims have recorded their protest. Around 70,000 clerics from across the world have been part of the event. And basically, this guy said the media organizations are there to stop referring to the groups, including ISIS, Taliban, Al-Qaida as Islamic. And this goes on and on and on. But as you can tell from these things, they do believe that they are of Muslim nature. And being in Muslim countries, of course, they would believe that they are of Muslim nature, these groups, even though they're run by the intelligence agencies and the banks. So you guys can look into what the Quran says and all this other stuff. I'm not here to read any of that. But this also included the UK, whose parliament approved airstrikes last week in Syria, and basically saying innocent women and children have been killed in the strikes, and things against these guys claiming to be of, a religious nature, yada, yada, yada. I don't mean to say yada, yada, yada. Those lives didn't matter. They do, and they have, and they will. But this just goes to show you that 70,000 clerics, well over probably 1.5 m Muslims at this point, have signed some form or another of a petition, if you will, to stop this sort of thing from happening. And basically, by doing so, they are, you get it, that by doing so, they're saying, they won't go do this. They won't support those who go do this. They will be on the lookout for those who are looking to go do this. And they will, in one form or another, supposedly, stop those who are going to do this. And I wish I could have found a really good article. I was watching a video on Dearborn, Michigan, how they turned in a bunch of guys who were acting a little bit out of the ordinary, who they thought were seeking this sort of thing. And most of them had been, not well this way or that way, but they had like no links, no groups, no this, no that. So this seems to be like at least somebody somewhere is trying to remove the Islam from the Middle Eastern terror groups. And if they were to remove the banks and the intelligence agencies from those groups, they could easily overrun and stop these groups. And these groups would never be able to assemble in these numbers again. So that's something to think about. I mean, these groups are the same thing as the Black Lives Matter in America, except for they haven't hit the overtly militant part, like the Taliban, Al-Qaida, ISIS, etc. But it's the same fundamentalism, and it's probably the same structure of psychology and other tenets of violence and anti-culturalism needed to put one group together to help stabilize or destabilize a community. And they're using the same tactics internationally that they're using domestically, and domestically that they're using internationally to make these groups. And I guarantee you most of these groups, ladies and gentlemen, only have about probably 1,000 to 2,000 main members. Guys they can control. They go in areas, recruit for different things, they use them, and then that's it. They take that down and they move on. I've believed that since I've probably been about 10 years old, because to me it didn't make sense that these groups had these many units, everywhere. And I've always believed that these groups have about probably 1,000 to 2,000 main people that the banks and all the intelligence agencies actually go after and actually use repeatedly in all these organizations. So, thank you.